can have a great idea. It's easy to have a great idea, but finding the right people to help you execute those ideas, that's the challenging part.
Girl.
And that's where One Way Connect comes in, not just for the...
When we talk about, you mentioned along the lines of watching people interact, would you say that sometimes attitude and character can actually triumph over skills?
And what makes it challenging is that business is straightforward, not easy.
Yeah.
It's straightforward, but humans are complex.
I love when you say human to human and also tell them my story,
Exactly.
because I think storytelling
Exactly.
is quite a big part of how we sell. You know, stories sell more than us just telling people about this amazing product that we have.
Attitude and character is the number one thing across the board. Because skills can be taught, but attitude and character cannot be.
Yeah. Okay, hello Resonate community and welcome to the best and the biggest sales and entrepreneurship podcast in the whole wide world. We have another superhero in the house. I am calling them superheroes because these entrepreneurs are exactly that, okay? The businesses that we are hearing of today are not only remarkable, but they're solving real problems, which is what I truly think innovation is in South Africa. Welcome to the Resonate podcast, Snail. Tell us about your business. I want everybody to hear about what it does, because when you told me about it, I just thought to myself, like, where do I sign up?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because it's necessary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, like when it comes to hiring people, it's never easy. As an entrepreneur, you can have a great idea. It's easy to have a great idea, but finding the right people to help you execute those ideas, that's the challenging part.
Girl.
And that's where One Way Connect comes in, not just for the SMME, but also for the enterprise company. Because with the SMME company, obviously it is difficult to hire.
Yeah.
But for the enterprise company, they're also suffering from the loss of, a high turnover rate costs companies a lot of money, first and foremost, and the wrong hire can also cost companies a lot of money. So everyone is affected by hiring the wrong people.
Yeah.
So with regards to solving that problem, I've developed One Way Connect, which is an innovative job matching and recruitment management software using AI. Obviously, the AI is being incorporated for volume-based purposes. So not to take away the human element by using AI, but using AI to make life easier for you as an employer. That's what we're using AI for. And then when it comes to the gamified assessments that we're incorporating, basically we want to help you see how a person will react in a particular situation, how they perform in a particular situation. That it's not biased. And you're not choosing someone based on mere keywords. You're choosing a person based on how you can see how competent they are.
Nice.
And that gives you confidence as an entrepreneur, as an employer, that the person that you're hiring does not just have everything on paper, but they're actually competent to the job. That's what
That is so spectacular. I mean, as an entrepreneur myself, I can tell you that hiring literally becomes one of the most head-aching things I will ever experience. It's like, it's harder than actually running the actual business.
100%.
Yeah. It's like, it's just so much easier to do it by yourself. But now when you start scaling, you need the right people in the right position.
And what makes it challenging is that business is straightforward, not easy.
Yeah.
It's straightforward, but humans are complex. That's where it gets challenging.
Girl.
Yeah.
I love that so much. And what I want to actually start with is, what made you start that business? Was there like a specific thing that happened in your life that you were just like, there is a need?
Absolutely. So basically, my first job, I worked when I was 19 years old. And in that particular position, I wasn't hired because I had the qualifications. I was hired because my employer saw potential in me, first and foremost, right? And because I was hired based on the potential that I had, I wasn't just put in one role. I wore many hats in that particular company. And because I wore so many hats, for some odd reason, the founder at that time, my employer, decided to include me in the hiring process as well. Because at that time, because it was a startup company, we had raised the funds and we were not able to afford to hire more people. And so he included me in that process. And the mistake that we both made is we were so focused on what was in the person's CV, you know, the C-sharps, the Pythons.
Accolades, everything.
Exactly. And we forgot to consider whether the person behind the CV was the right fit for the company. And as a result of that mistake that we made, we went from having a bigger team at the beginning of the year down to a small team at the end of the year. And it's as a result of that learning that I decided that I was going to start a recruitment agency back in 2019. But because I specialize in sales and marketing and I've worked in the SMME, it was a specialist SMME sales and marketing recruitment agency. And the difference with my recruitment agency at that time was that we didn't just look at people's CVs, we didn't just interview people. I went to the premises of my clients and I would see how people would respond in particular situations, how they spoke to each other, how they responded, how they present themselves, and make a decision based on that. But the unfortunate thing was that 3 months into starting my little business, would be hit by a pandemic. COVID-19 happened. And then, that was the end of that.
Yeah.
But I still received an influx of candidates who were interested in applying for jobs.
Nice.
But I was so inundated that I wished I had a system that would help me manage all these applicants.
Yeah.
And that's where One Way Connect came into play. But again, as mentioned, not forgetting the human behind human resources. How do we fully see the potential of a person, what they're capable of doing, but putting that into tech? And that's how the whole concept of One Way Connect came about.
I love that so much because we're bringing in the human element, but also using AI to scale up, which I think is very important. I love that very much. You know, when we talk about, you mentioned along the lines of watching people interact. Would you say that sometimes attitude and character can actually triumph over skill, where you would get somebody who's like highly skilled and they meet like all the accolades, but from an attitude and a personality perspective, they might not even be a great culture fit for that?
So it depends on the context, right? So different organizations value different things. When it comes to, let's say, for example, your big 4 accounting firms, I would imagine that competency as far as skills concerned would take the higher, priority. But I'd say with the majority of companies outside of that, because obviously, it depends on the context of the company, attitude and character is the number one thing across the board. Because skills can be taught, but attitude and character cannot be. So I would say that would be my answer. But because, the world of hiring is so complex and different companies have different requirements and people value different things, there's no one-size-fits-all answer when it comes to that. But I would definitely say the attitude and character part is the number one thing personally.
So as somebody who's done this, and when we talk about recruitment, there's this conversation I've been having a lot with business owners and people in recruitment around the whole working from home versus going back to the office. What is that looking like currently in the market? And are you seeing that? So is it necessary to go through that like human interaction and vetting process, especially if you need somebody to work from home, where you might not interact with them and you just need them to get the job done?
Sure. Yeah, I'd say it depends on the culture of that particular organization. I say a lot of people nowadays, surprisingly enough, still want to see a person face to face because they believe in that judgment that will help you make a decision. And I say that's why I was so intentional with One Way Connect in being a support tool, but not a replacement tool for you in making that decision. We're going to support you with all the data when it comes to hiring the right people, but I cannot help you make that decision when it comes to sitting face to face with the person. I still believe in that face to face interaction when it comes to making decisions. Now, when it comes to remote work, I would imagine that you would need to have conversations, obviously those virtual conversations, and then have tools that would help you see, okay, is a person capable of doing those jobs? And I'd say that's the reason why One Way Connect was created in the first place, especially during COVID-19, because the barriers to hiring became much higher with COVID-19 and remote work. And so the demand for tools like One Way Connect, I would say, was much higher back then because of the barriers. That's
true. That's true, because you might not want like 100 people coming in for an interview because they applied, but you kind of want a very thorough vetting process
100%.
that nails it to like a top 3 that you will eventually see, but with almost certainty that you're not missing out on good people if you're using AI. So I like when you spoke about how you are using AI but also bringing in the human element.
100%.
And I think artificial intelligence, yes, it won't replace human interaction, but it's getting smarter and smarter
100%.
to be able to even help us more
100%.
with our human intelligence which I think is really, really powerful. So you've been going through this process for the past couple of weeks. What has been the biggest highlights over the past couple of weeks for the experience?
The biggest highlight for me was the people that I've interacted with. All of these entrepreneurs, so much potential we have. I mean, people ask me who inspires me from an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I'm always talking about people that are high up there. But ever since I've gone through this process, the people that are with me, these entrepreneurs, these ideas that they've come up with, they inspire me. I don't want to lie. I feel like everyone here stands a chance to actually walk away. Like, I can't even tell who's going to win. These people, they really inspire me. I don't want to lie. So I've been inspired, if anything, during this process.
I love that. Any personal lessons you've taken on for yourself, either by observing or just being able to be part of, the experience overall?
Stay true to what you've been called to do, and don't compare yourself to anyone, because everyone else has good ideas, and you look at this person's idea and like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, cool. You need to stay true to what God has called you to do, and speak to that and tell your story. That's it. Stay focused on what you're called to do.
Yeah.
Yes, everyone else has their innovations, their ideas, and be happy for them.
Yes.
Don't compare yourself to them. Just, for me, stay focused, stay true to what you've been called to do. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. You mentioned earlier that you were in sales and marketing in the past, and Resonate podcast, we love talking about sales. I will never go an episode without talking about money, because it's literally what makes the world go around. And I'm curious to hear from you, what are some of the sales tips or tools you've actually learned over the journey of building the business that you've built and the challenges that you've also been through?
100%. So I work in B2B. B2B has been my entire career. So when it comes to B2B, I know they say cold email. Cold email does still work to an extent. And yes, cold emailing does work to an extent. But the number one thing for me is that human face-to-face interaction, especially when it comes to industry events and talking to people. I find that every time I have a conversation with someone and tell them my story, that's what sells it.
Yeah. I love when you say human to human and also tell them my story, because I think storytelling is quite a big part of how we sell. You know, stories sell more than us just telling people about this amazing product that we have. 100%. And I love that so much, because it basically speaks to how we should invest in human interactions.
100%.
And the point that you just made on being able to go to events and meet people, I think it's so powerful, because it's easy to say, I'll post all day long.
Yes.
I'll go live and talk to people, and I will share content. I will film this. But what you're saying is there's so much power in being in a space like this, and actually talking to other business owners, and actually the human connection aspect of things keep coming back.
That's definitely your advantage as an SMME, because you may not be as big as your competitors, but the edge that you have is a story that you tell. You as the founder speaking to someone and having that conversation, I think that's how you can win people over. Get them to buy into your vision, as opposed to, yes, you want them to buy into your product, but get them to buy into your vision. And I tell you now, you'll grab some solid clients who will stay with you in the long run.
Yeah. Any tips on storytelling?
Being honest, staying true to yourself. Because when I was in my early stages, I would say we're still in our early stages, and I've developed a system. I would love for you to try it out. And then they say, oh great, I'd love to support you, simply because I said, I just started out, this is what I'm doing, and I want you to try it out. Just give me feedback. And the people are willing to help you. That's what I've learned. People are willing to help you, as long as you're honest. Don't make yourself look like you've got it all together, because that's where I went wrong. When I was honest, that's where I experienced a breakthrough.
And also it helps you manage expectations, so that you don't under deliver, and somebody expected this and now you're giving them this and you guys didn't communicate. I love that so much, and this is such a powerful conversation. And along the way, I'm curious to know, what is your plan, or what do you foresee the business taking into shape in the next coming years? Let's say in the next 2 years, what are you seeing?
So I definitely see One Way Connect spreading across South Africa, spreading across Africa. And of course, because our main audience is in the UK, I see ourselves going into the UK market as well. I want to solve a problem for SMMEs and small businesses. Right now, our business model is geared towards companies that would be able to afford a monthly subscription. But the plan is to adjust our business model so we can accommodate small startup companies and SMMEs. We already have a plan right now where, if you're a startup company and you can't afford the monthly subscription fee, have a chat with us, and we're willing to tailor a plan to suit your circumstances. Nice. Because startup companies are the people who need our system the most. And so that's what we're currently working at. So I think over the long run, as much as we want to expand and scale, solving a problem at the end of the day for these SMMEs who need it the most and startups.
Yeah, and I think it's so important in a world where, or in a country rather, where a lot of small businesses are closing down, and part of it is human capital being a big challenge as well. I would not do this conversation, it's due, if I didn't ask you for tips.
Yes.
For SMMEs in terms of recruitment.
Yes.
So they might not have the budget to afford the full service, but what are the things that they need to either be on the lookout for or focus on to be able to find the right talent for the right position?
Yeah. I think looking for a person who is naturally intelligent and a person who is passionate.
Love that.
You may not have the resources to hire the person with the MBA and the PhD, but if you find someone who is intelligent and who is passionate, they'll make a success out of anything they put their hands to. So focus on that. Focus on those two qualities. Intelligence.
Yeah.
Gotta be smart, because a person who's intelligent will be able to figure out anything.
Yeah.
A person who's passionate will not just figure it out, but they'll figure it out and do it well. So look out for those two things. and that's it.
Yeah.
You'll never go
What
wrong.
would you say around creating positions? Because I know I've run several businesses in the past, and with some of them, it's like you're like, okay, I need to hire, but like for what position? Do I need an
Right.
assistant or an admin person? Do I need a financial manager? You know, like what? Because I think sometimes that's how we misalign people as entrepreneurs, especially during our startup phases. Is that we know we need help, so then we hire somebody to do everything.
Yeah.
And then they're not good at everything, and then we don't maximize them. So how do we start building positions and sections in our small businesses that still can't say, oh, I need an administrator to answer the phone only, because we can't afford that. We might need the administrator to do several things. But how do we create positions?
100%. I think it starts with self-awareness and knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And once you identify what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, then you'll know what you're going to be able to delegate. But I'd say as a small business owner, I'd say start off by setting tasks for yourself. Sometimes the job is based on the tasks that you have that you need to do in the business. Let's say, for example, I'm starting a business. I need to start my marketing. I need to raise funds. I need to do this, I need to do that. It starts off as a task, right? And then what starts off as a task then becomes a job that slowly becomes something that you would need to hire someone for. And so if you think of it like that and say, okay, these are the tasks, start small. Like, okay, this is a task that needs to be accomplished. What do I have the strength to do based on what I know about myself? And if I don't have that, if I'm not strong in that area, who can I assign these tasks to? So you need to figure out, okay, what needs to be done? What's the priority now? And obviously that starts off as a task-based assigning of jobs. And then obviously that's how you go on to hiring. So I'd say list down what you need to get done in your business right now, which obviously is a task right now. That task will then become a job for another person based on what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are.
I see. So you can almost craft conditions of service because you already know what the day-to-day tasks that person needs to do. That is so phenomenal. And take me through, so you hire that person with the need now. How do we adapt that, those roles? And do we even adapt the roles when now the business grows? So let's say 2 months after I've hired, I've gained capacity, meaning that now I've got more clientele. The scope of work increases, but slightly gets altered in different directions for this expansion. What do we do then?
Sure. So that's where, when it comes to scaling, that's where now you need to differentiate between your specialists and your generalists. Because generalists are excellent for the early stages, but specialists are what you need for scaling. And that's where it's going to get tricky now. It's never an easy conversation to have, because when it comes to scaling a business at that level, you need someone who's going to be a specialist in marketing and specialist in finance. But at the early stages, you have a generalist. And so, sure, I say it's a conversation that you'd have to have with the people that you have on board currently and identifying what it is they're strong at. But I would imagine that at the early stages, you'd probably have someone who's more of a generalist who is able to put their hats in so many things. And then when you get to that level, that's when you have to start bringing in people who are specialized. So
let's get a bit into like people management, because somebody has started with you for 2 years. They've been grinding with you. They know the struggle. Sometimes they'll probably paid a little bit later than the first because you guys were waiting for a payment. And now the business has grown. And how do you then still continue to keep good morale while you're bringing specialists? Because I'd imagine the subliminal, I'd even say just the knowledge at hand is the specialists are probably earning a lot more. They've got higher positions to manage the people that have known the business, all the while. What do we do with that?
Sure. So that's where transparency comes in.
I love that.
As a founder and as a management team. Gotta be transparent, or otherwise people will lose morale. And I've seen it happen. Have to be transparent. Please don't keep your people in the dark. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. So keep that channel open. I'm not saying have an open door policy per se, but be transparent. Transparency is key. And then as far as, I'm not a specialist when it comes to change management. But again, whatever that looks like within your organization, I feel like I would have to implement it. But transparency, number one.
It's going to be a big one. Are you opposed to the open door policy?
Not really. Not at all, actually. Actually, not at all. Not at all. That's it. Not at all.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm wishing you all the best for today.
Thank you.
I am so excited. I think the work that you do in the SME sector is so important and so essential. So we're looking forward to seeing you win and excel and just, we resonate with you. So thank you so much for joining us.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Resonate community. This was such an amazing conversation. And if you're an SME listening, I hope that you grabbed such amazing nuggets, because I do think that these are conversations that you need to be not only geared for, but prepare yourself mentally, financially, and in all all other ways for, because you will go through this as you're starting your business and as you're scaling. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys on our next podcast episode. Goodbye.